This is Patrick with Wolverine Inspections. Thank you for watching this training video. We hope it's educational, and this video will help you take the proper pictures and fill out paperwork for Indonesia container inspections. Wolverine Inspections is a third-party inspection company. We perform a variety of inspections for our clients. Our quality policy states that we will ensure client satisfaction by providing high-quality inspection services that meet our clients' requirements. Management is committed to continually improving the quality management system to ensure client satisfaction while meeting statutory and regulatory requirements. In short, we care about pleasing our clients. That's why we're in business. And this is accomplished in large part by having quality field workers who represent us professionally on site. Here are the basic attire requirements for our inspectors. If you look at the figure on the left, we see an inspector in a safety hat, a safety vest, and he's wearing a pair of long pants with no holes and steel-toed boots. These things are required. We are not allowed to wear yoga pants, flip-flops, sweatpants, pants with holes when we go to an inspection. We need to look the part, we need to look professional, and we need to make sure we're showing up with clean clothes so that you can represent us professionally. The second thing that you're going to need is a clipboard. Clipboards are required for inspections. You can pick these up for $1 at Dollar General or Dollar Tree. Please make sure you bring a clipboard so you can do your paperwork appropriately on the site. Also, you'll need a smartphone and a charger. We're going to send you an Ignite file. That Ignite file, you're going to upload your photos from your phone. Also bring your charger because you don't want to run out of juice during the inspection. You are being hired to take pictures throughout the day. We cannot do that unless your smartphone is usable. Every time you are assigned an inspection from Wolverine Inspections, two things will happen. Our staff will type out inspection instructions and send it to your email. This inspection instructions email gives you all the details and the paperwork that are necessary to complete the inspection. So you need to look in your email for this inspection instructions. As you see down here, you see the location where the inspection will take place. You also see the date and times of the inspection on the inspection instructions email. Attached to this email will be all the documents that you need to fill out for the inspection. Also, the second thing that will be sent to you is the shared Ignite file. Our company uses Ignite to get our pictures and paperwork. You'll have to download that app on your phone. And so you will see after you get signed in with Ignite and create your account, you'll see that in your shared folder there will be an ID number with a folder that bears that ID. That's where you're going to upload all of your photographs and your documents. When you receive inspection instructions from Wolverine Inspections, the second thing my staff will do is set you up in Ignite to upload your photos to an Ignite file. Ignite is the application that we will use for the inspector to send their photos to us during the inspection. If you don't have Ignite or this is your first time working with us, our staff is going to set you up in the Ignite system as a standard user, and you'll receive an email that looks just like this. I would like to share files with you. And the email, when you open it up, it will say accept invitation right here. It'll give you your username at the bottom. And when you hit accept invitation, it'll walk you through prompts to get set up. In Ignite, you need to set it up with an 8-letter password. And so once you get set up in the system, you'll have the ability to upload your photos and documents to the Ignite system. After you receive the invitation to join Ignite, you will also need to install the application on your phone. Go to Play Store if you're using an Android phone. Go to Apple Play or however you install apps on your Apple phone, and you will get this app. In order to find it, you go to the search bar as you see over here on the right hand side. You'll type in Ignite in your search bar and you'll see the icon for it. You'll install the app on your phone, and that is how you will be sending photos to us. You'll log into there. You'll see in your shared folder that there is an ID number tied to the inspection that you are assigned, and you will upload your photos and documents to that file. When you're working for Wolverine Inspections, it is very important that we get our photos and our documents back. We've had situations where inspectors did not upload their photos and their documents for over a week, and our company is required to get our photos and documents into our clients within 24 hours. So it's really important that our inspectors take this responsibility seriously. So inspectors are required to upload photos in real time and their documents by the end of the day. Please upload your photos progressively. Do not procrastinate uploading. Some of our inspectors are inspecting 10 containers in a day, and they're waiting till the very end of the day to upload all of their files. They get their photos confused, they upload them to the wrong folder. After you seal a container and you step to a safe area, you should have plenty of time to identify the pictures you took for that container and upload them into the appropriate container file on Ignite before you move on to your next task in the day. We do not want you slowing down the process, but if you have a smartphone and you have technical ability, you should have the ability to quickly upload your photos throughout the day. Inspectors, the second bullet point here, you need to communicate with your coordinators. If the site doesn't load the amount of containers that you are assigned to inspect, you need to communicate with your coordinator if you find dirty material. Communication is the name of the game. Our coordinators need to hear from the inspectors with updates as to if there are late containers, if there's not enough containers, or if anything's gone wrong during the inspection. Don't forget that loose material must be photographed every single inspection. We need a minimum of 4 loose material photos of paper and cardboard in every single container file that you load. We need these pictures to show that we inspected the material properly. Also, eliminate being late. Do not show up late for inspections. Please do your best to show up on time, and communicate with your coordinator if the container is late or if the following container has not showed up as of yet. This is the photo requirements page that is found on every single instructional email. When you get inspection instructions from Wolverine, right above our signature line, you will find this selection of pictures that we require for the loading of every single container that we inspect. This gamut of photographs must be taken. Now, if you notice, pictures number 3, 5, 9, and 13 are all highlighted in red. These pictures are where the inspector needs to be holding the placard in front of the product, or in front of the empty container, or in front of the half load, or the right door closed during the inspection. We're about to illustrate that on this instructional video. This slide shows the pre-loading photos, or the bale inspection photos, that we need to take for every single container. So first we see these loose material photos. This is old corrugated cardboard in these pictures. These are boxes which are clean, they're dry, they don't have any impurities in them, and we need to take pictures of loose material for every container. Normally we put at least 4 pictures of loose material in each container folder. This right here is a placard. This placard identifies what order we are inspecting for our Indonesian client. It's tied to an ID number. There's a VO number on each of the placards, and there's also an exporter's reference number on this. We simply hold up our clipboard with the placard with the products in the background, and we take a picture. We can see here the bale inspection. These materials are coming directly out of the baler. They take these loose materials in the upper photos, they put it through a baler, they compress the product, and they produce a bale of material. These bales weigh about 1,500 pounds. And so this material has been purchased by our overseas client. We will take pictures of those. Here we have a picture of the inspector holding the placard in front of the loose material. We need one of those pictures per date of inspection, and this is a required photo. These are pictures of the container loading process. It starts with the empty container. Once the container is backed into the dock, the inspector will simply take a picture of the empty container. One of the things we're looking for in the container is cleanliness. We look at the floor. We look at the sidewall to make sure that there's no holes in the container. If you see protruding light coming through the sidewall of the container and there's a hole, that hole will need to be welded or patched. We always recommend that our inspectors take a photo of any damage to the container. Run it by your coordinator, and your coordinator will tell you how you are to proceed, whether we can tape that hole or it will need to be welded by the site. So our inspectors are required to take a picture of the empty container. We also have to get pictures of the inner container number. On the right side wall of most containers, you will find this gamut of letters and numbers. All shipping containers are noted by 4 letters and 7 numbers. If you ever write down on your paperwork less than 4 letters or less than 7 numbers, something is wrong. All container numbers that are going overseas have 4 letters, 7 numbers. Here the inspector in the third picture is holding the placard in front of the empty container. Nothing's been loaded yet. The placard is being held. You can read all the numbers, and the inspector is in the photo. The fourth picture here shows the inspector holding the placard in front of the half load. Now if you notice, this inspector is wearing steel-toed boots, they're wearing a safety vest, they're wearing a hard hat, and they're holding the placard. They also have a shirt with sleeves on it, so this inspector is properly attired during this inspection. We need to see all of our inspectors complying with this during every single inspection. This picture here shows the half load without the inspector appearing in it. This is about halfway loaded. The inspector took a picture. If you also notice, they're angled a little bit to the left-hand side, so you can, if we ever zoomed in, we could actually see the container number over here on the right wall. That's a very good half load picture. Here is the fully loaded container. Our inspectors are required to mark 2 bales at the end of each container to say that they were inspected. This inspector did a perfect job at marking those 2 bales with these X's with the Cotecna tape. If you do not have Cotecna tape, we have labels that you can print out and tape to those bales. But that's a great picture of the fully loaded container. You can see the container has been pulled forward from the dock. Now both doors are open and the picture was taken. This next picture is a very important picture. This picture shows the right side door closed and the left side door open. We need this picture for every inspected container. Many times a truck driver tries to shut this left side door first, and the inspector simply needs to tell the truck driver, we need to shut the right side door and leave the left side door open for a required inspection photograph. The reason this photo is required is so our client can see the fully loaded container and that they can see these numbers at the top of the right side door. Notice 4 letters, 7 numbers is on the top of the right side door. This number right here, 45G1, is noting that the container is a 40-foot container. We can also see some other information on the back of this door which is pertinent to the inspection. So we need to see this picture for every single inspection that we do on a container that's going to Indonesia. We must have the right side door closed and the left door open. This is a very important portion of this instructional video. We are going to be giving instructions as to how to place the seal on the back of the container, but we want to stress the importance of having this Cotecna seal during the inspection. Without the Cotecna seal, we cannot perform any inspections per our Indonesian client. We are not allowed to place site seals on the back of a container. If there are no seals on site that say Cotecna on them, if you are not carrying them with you to the inspection, we cannot perform the inspection. We cannot stress this enough. We need our inspectors to pay attention to this. Inspectors need to make sure that there are seals on the site and available prior to the inspection. When you get to a site, if you're not holding seals with you, you need to report to the scale house, talk to the yard foreman, and make sure that our seals were delivered to them. Also, you must call your coordinator if seals are not with you or on the site. If you get to the site and you find that there are no seals, you need to immediately call your coordinator because we are not allowed to do any inspection on any container without the Cotecna seal. Also, I want to stress the importance that it is our responsibility as the inspector to place this seal on the back of the truck. We do have some people who are not tall enough to reach some of the clasps where we will put the seal, and we will need a truck driver to help us or somebody at the yard. But it's our responsibility that this seal is affixed properly on the back of the container. You must obtain a clear close-up photo of this Cotecna seal after it has been affixed onto the rear of the container. Some of our inspectors in the past have taken a picture of the seal on the paperwork before it has been affixed to the container. This is a decent photo, but it's not a required photo. The required photo is for this seal to be photographed after it is snapped in place, just as you see in this picture. If you notice in the picture, this seal is properly installed. The top number and the bottom number are visible and readable. Sometimes people are installing the top of the seal with the numbers facing the truck. Please do not do that. Put the numbers facing out. This is a tamper-proof seal. This means if you snap it together, it doesn't come apart except with a bolt cutter. So do not play with the seal prior to sealing the container. Do not seal a container before it has been weighed. If they get done loading at the dock and they want you to seal the container before it goes to the weigh station, do not seal that container. They need to make sure that the container has not been overloaded or it is overweight. If you put the seal on and the container is overweight, they're going to have to cut the seal and ruin the seal, and we will not be able to perform the inspection if we're short a seal. So please follow these instructions when you're affixing a seal to the container. Again, no inspection can be performed without a Cotecna seal. These are very important photos that we need to take when we're closing the container. Normally the truck driver will close the container, but again, here's a picture of the inspector holding the placard in front of the right side door closed and left door open. That's the picture that is required. Again, we're looking for these numbers up here to be in the picture along with the inspector, along with the right door closed, left door open. Again, here's a proper photo of a seal after it has been affixed to the container. This is a clear close-up photo of the seal. Please put your camera close enough to the seal to where we can read all the numbers. I ask our inspectors to please review your pictures before you move on with the inspection. Most of our inspectors have social media accounts and they would never post a blurry picture to their Facebook or their Instagram page. Please do not return blurry pictures for our inspections. They are worthless photos. Our client cannot read them. We can't verify any information. Please be professional and take the kind of pictures we need. Everybody with a smartphone has the ability to take a clear photo where we can read these numbers. And then after you affix this seal, you take 2 steps back and you take a picture of the rear of the sealed container. This seal was affixed right here. We cannot tell what the number is at that, but we can see that the seal was affixed on the container, and we can see what the container number was. This is a required picture for our client. We will now go to the document section of our inspections. Our inspections are worthless if we don't get our documents turned in, or if we're not performing or we're not taking the right documents to our inspection. This document right here is called a placard. This placard will be assigned. This placard will be attached to your document package that you get in the inspection instructions email. Again, it has the ID number, the VO number, and the exporter's reference number on that document. Our inspectors have to hold that document in front of the pile of material that's going to be loaded. Our inspectors have to take a selfie of themselves holding this placard in front of the container at different junctures and in front of the material that's being loaded. So every document package will have this placard in it. It's a very important document that you will use for every inspection. We need to pay very close attention to these 2 documents because they have to be filled out every single day we go to an inspection. If you are performing a multiple day inspection, you are going to start a fresh set of documents every day. And these documents that appear on your screen have to be filled out in this fashion every single day that we go to an inspection. On the left, we see a physical inspection report. This is called an office copy. This is the master sheet for the inspection. We have highlighted every area of this form that you need to be concerned with. Our office staff pre-fills this document to try to make sure that no one makes any mistakes. But these highlighted areas have to be filled out by our field staff every single time we go to an inspection. There's a rectangle right here. The first highlighted area that you see is the inspection result. If you went to an inspection and everything worked out well, we're going to put satisfactory. If we had to reject the inspection because the material was no good, we'll put rejected. But for the most part, this is going to say satisfactory. Please do not leave this rectangle blank. It needs to have satisfactory on it. Next highlighted section we find is the dates. This is very simple. Every one of our inspector is going to get paid based on the date that they worked. We are seeing scores of inspectors return their documents back to us without dates on them. This is unacceptable. You need to write the date of the inspection down when you first get there. This is a very simple request. You just write down what date and you write down the report date. They should always be the same. You should be reporting the same day as the inspection date. The inspection is valid for 1 month from the date of inspection. This inspection was performed on September 5th, so we put down October 5th for the inspection valid until. The next section shows another simple section that is being avoided by some inspectors. The inspector needs to sign on the left and the site rep needs to sign on the right. It's very simple. At the end of the day, you go to the front desk and you get signatures on your documents before you leave for the day. The net weight is going to be filled in here. I'm going to discuss this on a different slide. We will talk about that in a moment. But down here is the container number, percentage filling, the size of the container, and the Cotecna seal number. The container number needs to be filled out, 4 letters and 7 numbers for every container. I hand wrote here number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. This sheet gives you the ability to record the first 4 containers that are inspected on that particular day of inspection. We do not need just one container listed on this sheet. If you did 4 containers, all 4 containers should be listed in these sections, and all of these sections need to be filled out. The container number is a simple section. You just write down the 4 letters and 7 numbers of the container. 20 or 40 means what size was the container. Most of our inspections are on 40-foot containers, so you would write 40 foot all the way down if you inspected 4 containers. Percentage filling means how much did they fill up the container. Most of our containers will be filled up 100%. Please put 100% all the way down if you inspect 4 containers. Here's the Cotecna seal number. Please write the letter C along with all the numbers that are on that particular seal for that section. Do not leave the letter C out. Our client will come back to us and ask us to correct it. We want you to write down the entire seal number that you see on that seal in these sections. Okay, that finishes this section. Over here to the left is a section that is often being left blank by our inspectors. This is where we will report the number of bales that went into the container. This will be found on the scale ticket that we are required to get at the end of the loading. We'll discuss that in a later slide, but you need to write down the total number of bales loaded during the inspection in this section. If you loaded 10 containers and each one of the containers had 33 bales, it would be 330 in this section. This is a combined bale count for the entire day, as this is the master sheet. Also at the bottom right, there's another highlighted section that is often being left blank by our inspectors. We need to know what time you got there, we need to know what time you left, and we need to know the total number of time that you spent on this particular inspection. That needs to be filled out every single time you go to a date of inspection. Please do not leave any of these highlighted areas blank. This is the office copy. Over here on the right, we see a physical inspection report, exporter copy. Looks very similar to the office copy, but it is different. There's a disclaimer down here at the bottom. This differentiates between the office copy and the exporter copy. It looks very similar. We'll fill out the inspection result just like we did on the office copy. We'll fill out the dates just like we did on the office copy. We'll get signatures and we'll fill out the container number section in its entirety, and we will also put the weight on the exporter copy. We need both the office copy and the exporter copy back for every single inspection. When our inspectors turn in an office copy and not an exporter copy, we are being asked to produce one so that we can send that directly to the exporter. We are not to leave these documents on site anymore. Many of the sites are losing this document. The exporter wants us to email it to them. So please return both of these copies back to our office when you complete an inspection and fill out in entirety all the highlighted areas. On the left, we find the continuation sheet. This is a carryover page from the physical inspection report. You might remember that the physical inspection report only has spaces for 4 containers. So the continuation sheet is basically a continuation sheet of the physical inspection report. If you load 8 containers, you're going to load containers 5 through 8 here, and the seals for those containers there. It will all be handwritten, but you have to fill in all of the highlighted areas. We write the date, we write the inspector's name, we have a signature down here at the bottom and another date here. Make sure you fill this form out in its entirety for each inspection. Do not use a continuation sheet for carrying over day 1 and day 2. Every day we do different inspection forms. It all starts over again on the following day. All right, here is on the right hand side is a very important document. This is a container inspection report. This report is filled out 1 per container. If you load 20 containers in a day, we're going to have 20 of these sheets. And we need the highlighted areas filled out for every one of these forms. Our inspectors have been really lacking in filling out their times or the dates. The container number, the seal number goes here. These times are important for us to record. You're supposed to record what time that you got there, what time the container got there if you know it. If you don't know it, you can leave that blank. But every time we do a container inspection, we need to look at the container and make sure it has no holes, that the container is in good shape. And you have to write down the time you walked inside that container and gave it a once over, and you know when you inspected it. When the loading started is when they put the first bale on the container. When the loading completes is when they put the final bale on the container, and we're marking those bales. Look at your watch or your smartphone and write down the time that it was completed. When you seal a container, same thing. You look at your watch, you look at your smartphone, and you put down the time. Down here at the bottom, we need to put a bale count on all of our container inspection reports for that particular container. If you do 10 containers in a day, we ought to see bale counts on all 10 of these. That way, when we add all of them up, we need to confirm that we have added the correct amount of bales, and that's going to go on the physical inspection report, the combined amount. Down here, we have a signature section. The signature section has the inspector's signature, and it has the site rep signature. We need to fill these forms out in their entirety for every inspection. This next section of the instructional video will explain basically a new requirement. We're always required to get a bill of lading or a scale ticket for inspections, but I need our field staff to begin filling out the net weight that was loaded on these containers on every inspection form. Here on the left, we have a straight bill of lading. This tells us how much weight was loaded in the container, and it gives it to you right here. This is the net weight. This is what our client is paying for, this net weight of this material. It also here gives us the bale count. It says 33 bales. And so we mark 33 bales right here on this form. And this net weight is going to be recorded right here on the physical inspection report. If you load 10 containers, you get your calculator out on your smartphone, you add the numbers up to all of the containers, and you put the combined weight in this section right here for each date of inspection. Also, if you're doing a large inspection, say you're doing more than 1 container, we would like our inspectors to obtain a container list from the site that they loaded on that particular day. This will help our processing team understand how many containers were loaded and make sure all the information matches up when we're processing your inspection when you turn it in. Timeliness and professionalism. This should define our inspectors for Wolverine inspections. Please plan to be on time for inspections. You need to think about how long it's going to take you to get through traffic to arrive on time. Please respect the fact that these exporters schedule truck drivers to get to the port. They often have to get up very early to deliver these containers to the site. Wolverine does not schedule those truck drivers. The exporter does. And they will not schedule the truck driver until our office staff confirms that our field staff will be there to take pictures for the loading. They cannot load these containers on site unless we are there. And when you arrive late, it produces a domino effect. Everyone panics. The exporter panics, the site panics, the truck drivers are angry. Please plan to be on time for your inspections. This is a vital part of our inspection, and it's also a huge part of being a professional. You have to be responsible to get to the site on time. If you are going to be late, please call our office staff. Please do not call us an hour after the inspection saying, hey, I'm going to be late. Call us before the inspection. If you oversleep, I understand things happen. Please let us know as soon as you humanly can so that our office staff knows that we at least have somebody on their way to the site. Otherwise, we're going to be scrambling to find another inspector to do the inspection, especially if we have trucks on site. All inspectors need to represent us professionally. We've listed a couple of things here. Please have a good attitude when you go to sites. Please smile. Please, represent us in a positive fashion. Our company gets more work because our field workers do such a good job of having a good attitude. Your appearance makes a difference. Please don't show up, with dirty clothing, smelly clothing, just having rolled out of the bed. Make sure that your appearance is professional. Use professional language on site. Your behavior matters on site. Do not act inappropriately on site. Represent us professionally, and you'll find that you'll get more work, and so will our company. We have a no smoking policy during inspections. If you are a smoker and they're taking a break, you need to make sure that you're smoking in a designated area. We prefer that our inspectors not smoke when they're on sites, but if you do, you need to make sure that you're smoking in a designated area. People on these sites are very sensitive because these are all no smoking sites because they've had fires that have destroyed their products. Please obey all site rules while you're on site. This is a part of us being professional. Timeliness and professionalism is the name of the game for our field staff. Please represent us professionally and show the utmost respect when you are on site. Wolverine inspections require us to inspect the materials that are presented for an inspection. Our job is to ensure that the material is clean and free of impurities. Our clients are very concerned with the amount of impurities in the recycled material that we are inspecting. And so our inspectors are required to scrutinize the quality of the material that is presented during an inspection. We do not expect our inspectors to be experts, but we do expect our inspectors to exercise common sense while on site and to communicate in real time with our coordination staff. During the inspection, it's important that we inspect the material for purity. We have two options to do this. We can either have the site break down the bales, or we can do a pre-bale inspection. The break bale and re-bale process is here on the left. We need to take pictures during the material being broken down, and we break down the bales and inspect for impurities. If you're inspecting cardboard, then you're looking for plastic and milk cartons and Walmart bags and things like that. If you're inspecting for paper, plastic is the same thing. Plastic is an impurity that would be found in the bale. There are other things that you want to exclude, like soup cans or dirty diapers and things like that. The client has ordered waste paper. They want waste paper. They don't want plastic. And so you're going to be watching them breaking down the bale. If you see any impurities in the materials, you need to contact your coordinator right away and send them pictures in real time. They'll determine the impurity level and work with you about how to proceed. Text your photos to your coordinator. Most of our suppliers are going to select this one on the left. They're going to want to be baling the materials during the inspection. And one thing that our inspectors must do now is determine how many bales are going to be loaded into the container and inspect 10% of the bales. For instance, if you get to the site and you ask the loader or the supervisor, how many bales are you loading in the containers today? And he'll say 26 bales, something to that effect. Well, for 26 bales, we need to inspect 3 and mark 3 bales that then get loaded to the tail end of the container. And so we'll cover that on the next slide as well. But we can inspect the material prior to the baling when it's going through the conveyor. Material photos must be taken after the material has been picked and sorted. We don't want pre-sorted pictures, or we don't want pictures of the material before it's been picked through and all the impurities have been thrown out. We want the material after it's been sorted through. So we want to take pictures of the material as it's on the conveyor to confirm whether the material is free of impurities. And we must mark the bales that come out of the baler and inspect them. So we need to make sure that we're marking the correct amount of bales and that those inspected bales are loaded to the tail end of the container. This will be covered on the next slide. This is a new requirement in 2020. It used to be that we would only mark 2 bales at the end of the container, but that has changed. We need to ask the site how many bales they're going to load in the container, and the answer that they give you will determine how many bales you have to inspect. As you can see on this picture on the right, there are 3 bales that are marked. The one here, the 2 on the left, and the one at the bottom right. This means that they loaded 30 or less bales on this container. If they loaded 31 to 40 bales, this bale would need to be marked as well, because we inspect 10%. For 1 to 10 bales, we're going to inspect 1 bale. For 11 to 20 bales, we inspect 2. For 21 to 30 bales, we inspect 3. For 31 to 40, we inspect 4. For 41 to 50 bales, we inspect 5. And the marked bales must be loaded at the tail end of the container. Again, there are 2 ways to mark the bale. It's this Cotecna inspected label, or you can mark it with a piece of the Cotecna tape. This is a very important requirement. You need to make sure that you're marking 10% of the bales. We must mark the inspected bales and make sure that those bales are loaded at the tail end of each container. This Cotecna inspected label will be included in your document package, and in almost every case you're going to have to print out several copies of this. If you're loading 10 containers and they're loading 35 bales per container, you're going to need 40 copies of this Cotecna inspected label to affix to the bales that are being loaded at the tail end of the container that were inspected. And so we want to make it clear that when we inspect a bale and it's loaded at the end of the container, it must contain this label or the Cotecna tape. All inspected bales must be loaded at the tail end of the container, and sometimes we're aware that a site will overload a container and discover that it's overweight and they have to take a bale off the end of the container. Our inspectors need to ensure that they don't take an inspected bale off the container. Our inspected bales must remain in the container. This may cause the fork truck driver to have to take our bales out, move them out of the way, and get a non-inspected bale and remove it for the container to make weight. That may take a little more time, but it's necessary because our inspected bales must stay on the container. These pictures show the process by which we did this inspection. You can see the conveyor belt right here with this material that's been broken on the bottom left and the top right. And we see no impurities in this material. After it was baled, the inspector marked 2 bales. Obviously, this was an 11 to 20 baled in the container. If there was 21 to 30 bales, we would need to mark a 3rd bale. If there was 31 to 40, we'd need to mark a 4th bale. But this shows the process by which the markings are done. Make sure that the tape or the Cotecna inspected label is affixed properly to the bales, and it's loaded at the tail end of the container, so when the Indonesian authorities open the doors of the container, they see every inspected bale properly marked. Let's examine this photo that was recently taken during a waste paper inspection. The inspector was on site to inspect waste paper for newsprint manufacturing. The supplier took him to this pile of goods and presented it for inspection. As you can see, there are multiple milk cartons visible in this picture. There's also a soup can. Milk cartons are plastic, soup cans are metal. There's also a lot of cardboard in here, more cardboard than we see paper. So this material is no good. It's non-conforming. This is obviously a pile that was pre-sorted. Nobody's picked through the material, segregated the material, and presented waste paper for newsprint manufacturing to us. So, as they should have, they shared the photo with us and we rejected the material. Please use your common sense while you're on site to identify goods that are non-conforming. Our inspectors are required to perform material inspections while we are on site. These two pictures demonstrate photos that were taken during the material inspections for metal inspections or scrap metal. As you can see in the picture on the left, non-metal materials are seen in the photograph, particularly the tires that are on the lawnmower, which are either rubber or plastic. These materials should not have been allowed to load on a metal container. Also, there are items on the left side that are very dirty or rusty. We need to begin evaluating for cleanliness. Cleanliness issues have been raised by the Indonesian government, and they want dirty materials to be rejected. On the right-hand side, we see a large roll of insulation. That is not metal. It should not have been allowed to load in this container. Also, there's some plastic hanging off of material there. If an inspector arrives on site and just sees a pile of metals and interspersed inside the metal are these non-conforming materials, we should reject the material and let the supplier know that the material must be cleaned. In these cases, our Wolverine inspectors are required to call their coordinator or our administration team, and we will look at the pictures and evaluate whether or not we can proceed with the inspection. This material is called aluminum scrap Zorba. Many of our inspectors inspect this. The photo on the left-hand side is accepted material. It is acceptable scrap aluminum. It's going to be shipped over there. It's going to be loaded in bulk on the floor of the container. On the right-hand side, our inspectors need to be watching for the loading process. As you can see here on the right-hand side, the material is just soiled with dirt. And some suppliers will say, oh, this is a regular process. I don't care what the supplier says. They are not allowed to load dirt into the container. The client did not order dirt. They will reject this when it gets to the port and float the container back here. Our inspectors are on site precisely to reject this kind of thing from happening. In this particular case, a conveyor belt was being used and it was scraping the ground and throwing material into the truck. Our inspector should not have sealed the truck with the Cotecna seal. This kind of container will not be allowed. We will tell the site we cannot put this container on our paperwork because the Indonesian government will not accept it. And so we need to be extremely careful about allowing the loading of impurities. These photos here are for cardboard. On the left-hand side, we see accepted bales of cardboard. You can see they are clean. They are nice looking bales. It's clean material. This is the kind of material that our client is looking for. So that would be accepted. On the right-hand side, we see material that needs to be rejected. We see here that they have flipped this bale that was obviously drug across the dirty floor and it was wet. And they flipped up the bale at the end of the container, and the bale is completely contaminated with dirty material. It's wet, it's dirty. This material needs to be rejected. We don't tag this kind of a bale. We take this bale out of the container, and we ask the site to take it out of the container and put a clean bale inside the container. We cannot ever mark a dirty bale like this, and we should not ever allow dirty bales to be loaded inside of the container. If the material is dirty and wet, we're going to reject the material. Our inspectors need to pay special attention to this. This is why we're being hired to do the inspection. This photo was taken during a recent plastic inspection. This inspection was rejected because the material was unclean. This material is discolored and dirty. The inspector reported the smell of mildew, and it's dark in color. It looks like there's something on the material. These kind of impurities must be rejected by our inspectors. Dirty materials cannot be shipped overseas. If it is plastic that comes from a hospital use or an agricultural use, it cannot be shipped overseas. If you have any question about the cleanliness of material while you are on site, please share the photo via text with your inspection coordinator and let them make the decision as to whether or not we will allow the inspection to proceed. This is a good example of a photo that would be taken during a waste paper inspection. This is waste paper for newsprint manufacturing. If you notice, the material appears to be dry, it appears to be clean, and it does not appear to be intermixed with cardboard, plastic, or any other impurities. Our inspector would be required to watch this material run through the baler, and we would mark the bale after it comes out of the baler as an inspected bale. At the end of the workday, after all the containers have been loaded, all of your documents should have been filled out. You will now go to the front office to get signatures on these documents. The inspector will sign here, the site rep will sign there. All the documents in the doc package needs to be signed by the inspector and the site rep. You also need to collect scale tickets for every single container that was loaded during your day of inspection. So if you loaded 10 containers, we would expect to see either 10 bills of lading or 10 scale tickets. Now that we have completed our documents, the big question is, how can we get these completed documents sent in to the Wolverine office? Because if we don't get your paperwork, we can't process your inspection. The inspector on the left is named Fezzik. He's one of our most trusted inspectors. He has completed his day of loading. His email address is inspector@gmail.com. So after he collects the scale tickets from the site, he's going to hand the documents over to the secretary and politely ask the secretary, can you scan these documents to my email so I can forward them to the Wolverine office? The secretary will take these documents and she'll take it over to this type of office machine that most of our sites have. It takes them about 10 to 15 seconds to scan our documents to us. She'll put them here, she will scan them to the inspector's email, and the inspector will shortly receive an email notification on their smartphone. The secretary has typed in the email address correctly, inspector@gmail.com, which is Fezzik's email address. And just in a few moments, Fezzik is going to receive an email from the secretary at Recycling USA, and you're going to get an email notification that you have received the scanned document. If you don't receive the email, it's possible that the secretary typed in the email address wrong. If she did, you just need to make sure that she understands I didn't receive the email. Ask her to email the correct email address. And before you leave the site, you need to make sure that you receive this email. Once you receive this email, you simply forward it to support@wolverineinspections.com, and that will complete your paperwork tasks for each date of inspection. It is very, very important for our office staff to receive your documents on the date that you performed the inspection. I want to thank you for watching this video. We are so pleased with our field inspectors. We have over 200 field inspectors now, and the reason our company has been successful is because we have hired quality people who take their jobs seriously. Remember, have a good customer service attitude, come with a smile, have a positive attitude while you're on site. Be on time for your inspections, plan to be there, print your documents the night before, plan to be on time. Do everything in your power not to hold up the loading at these suppliers. Often these suppliers ask for Wolverine inspectors to come back because they like how our people perform on site. Communicate with your coordinator when you're on site. If there's late containers or any problems with the material, text photos, call them. We have a great staff of people who will get back with you quickly. Upload all of your photos and documents within 4 hours of the inspection to the Ignite file. That's a huge requirement. It's doable because we have smartphones. Please get that done. Take that seriously so we don't have to track you down after the inspection. And I want to thank you again for all of your hard work. This is Patrick signing off.